Taliban is still facing opposition and armed resistance in the Panjshir Valley. The mountainous enclave is 150 kilometres north of Kabul, and since the capital fell, it's been the only province to hold out against the group. Now, there's been more fighting after talks between the two sides failed to reach a settlement. Dozens of people have been killed. Let's cross over to our correspondent, Rob McBride, who's in Kabul. And Rob, the Panjshir Valley obviously is the focus of attention, and it has been certainly for a few weeks. But with the talks, you might say, having failed, what next?
Yeah, it does remain a very dangerous position all around the Panjshir. The Taliban have completely surrounded the valley, and there have been various attempts in recent days of mediation, of trying to get some kind of negotiated surrender of the resistance movement within that valley, because, of course, other parts of other provinces in Afghanistan did surrender without a fight. It's hoped that that will also be the case with the Panjshir, but talks have been ongoing, and they have most recently collapsed. Now, as these talks have collapsed, the Taliban have been telling people in the Panjshir to urge its government to respect and to acknowledge the Islamic Emirate, and the fact that this is the fait accompli, it is done, that they should lay down their arms. But the Taliban has also been saying why these latest round of talks have collapsed, and accusing the resistance movement of making completely irrational demands. Now, the resistance movement is led by Ahmad Massoud, and according to the Taliban, in negotiations with Massoud, the group was calling for it to be able to be allowed to retain its weapons, its arms, which isn't an outlandish demand. But also, in addition to that, according to the Taliban, they've been asking for 1/3 representation in the new government, the new, basically, Taliban government, which is about to be established here, which does seem to be an incredibly big ask, given the relative weakness of this resistance movement. The Panjshir, as we know, was the home to the Northern Alliance of 20 years ago, but this movement, you would have to say, is a shadow of its former self. It doesn't have anything like the kind of backing that the Northern Alliance could claim across the northern swathes of Afghanistan. It seems to be far more isolated, and so you wonder where these demands seem to be coming from, because they do seem to be detached from reality. That's if the Taliban's version of their demands is to be taken at face value. So there remains a tense standoff there. There does seem to be no meeting in the middle. The Taliban probably will not give away to these concessions, and as they do, we know that there has been an increase in fighting. We know that civilians have been leaving the Panjshir, which all indicates that they may well be expecting some further violence to break out there.
Rob McBride with the update. Thanks very much for joining us from Kabul.